Greg's getting ready to do his show here on Oilers Nation in about 35 minutes. Greg's, how was the locker room cleanout day? What kind of stood out to you?
Well, a few things. And sorry if my audio is not the best, but
no, you're good.
Went a little bit long. Connor Brown basically tells everybody I think he wants to be here. Hearts in Edmonton. That's not a surprise. Matthias Janmark joked, I don't think there'll be a lot of big offers. So he says there's like 3 teams probably that he'll choose from. I think he'll be back. Adam Henrique's numbers are one that, he talked about. Like he's made, well, he didn't mention the number, but I looked it up. Like he's made, over $55 million, right? He wants to win. And so, he admitted that, if you're going to sign on a winning team, it's probably going to be for less. So I think they all understand the situation here amongst their UFAs. Folko's probably the interesting one. And, it's the first time he's as a free agent. He probably owes it to himself and his family just to test the market, to see what's out there for a guy who scored 20 goals and has historically been good in the playoffs. And the fact that he's been on a team that's lost to the Cup winner 4 years in a row, like he knows heartache. So he admitted that he wants to be where he has a chance to win, and that's important to him. So that's probably what stood out the most to me is, how many of the guys really want to be back in Edmonton. And, you normally don't hear that as often, maybe because the team wasn't that close, but I think they came so close that, and even Connor McDavid said, he goes, I kind of feel a little bit weird how in previous years I said, like, we were close, we really wanted it. And experience going to the Cup finals, like we weren't that close, but now we are. And, so it's a brutal loss for them. There's no question, gut wrenching for sure. But they feel they're close. And I think anybody watching would agree. Like the Oilers, you know what? If they're able to solve Bobrovsky in game 1, maybe they win the Cup.
Maybe they win it on home ice in game 6 as well. So just maybe if I'm getting this right, if you were to rank those bottom 6 UFAs in order of most likely to return to least likely return, would it be in some order like Brown, Janmark, Henrique, and then Foegele at 4?
Yeah, probably, right? Like Henrique's the top for me because of, what he might command on the open market, even from other competitive teams. Like Edmonton, I'm very certain that they're going to put Jack Campbell on waivers and then buy him out. And with that, they would have $14 million in cap space. So then you have to sign 6 forwards, 2 defensemen, and a backup goalie. Now, Calvin Pickard, I think could easily be that backup goalie if they want him. They know what he brings. He knows his role. They loved him here, so I could see that. It's not like there's a lot of other options that are going to be in the same price range. I heard you guys talk about Vinny Desharnais, and here's the thing. I looked at the right shot defenseman free agents, guys. It ain't a great, like, there's not a lot of options there for at least for what they need, right? Like, there's some top end guys, but they don't have the cap space to do that. So if you look at, what you're looking for, a third pair right defenseman who can kill penalties, there's not many better than Desharnais. But Desharnais is another guy who, this might be his one-time life-altering opportunity. So I understand if he goes to free agency and at least listens. Like Brett Kulak went to free agency a few years ago because he said, I owed it to myself to see what offers were out there. And then, were that much of a difference to not come to Edmonton. So you could do it, but that window is very short.
With the right-handed shot defenseman market the way it is, do you think that leads to an opportunity to trade a guy like Cody Ceci then?
Well, he's got 3 There's some people at Edmonton that act like Cody Ceci is the first defenseman in the league. So you might want to pump their brakes. Does he have some limitations to his game? 100%. But he's not grossly overpaid, right? He's a $3 million defenseman, 3.25. So yeah, I think there would be interest in it. And but the thing is, depth matters on the blue line more than anything else, right? And so you get rid of Ceci, then let's say you get what if you lose Desharnais and Ceci? How are you replacing them? So
yeah,
that's that it's cap wise, it probably makes sense. But it doesn't guarantee that the person you bring in, even if he's $1 million defenseman, is going to be better than Cody Ceci or even as good as Cody Ceci. So you always have to factor in everything there. I understand the cap wise thing here, and if Ceci's playing in your third pair, then he's probably too expensive to be a third pair defenseman. But it's not like Cody Ceci was actually pretty good in Dallas and the final against Florida. I beg anyone to question if Cody Ceci was an issue in those series.
So let me float you our Sherwood Ford Giant question of the day. If you had to line it up now and make your best guess, who are going to be their 6th defenseman on opening night?
Well, I think 5 are pretty obvious. I don't think they're moving Kulak, right? Broberg, no. Obviously, Nurse, Ekholm, Bouchard, no. Nurse has a full no movement clause, so it's anybody out there even expressing, hey, let's trade him. I don't see how that's going to happen. So, who's number 6? I probably would go if I had to pick today. I might go with Desharnais, simply because I think cap space wise, it is a cap world, and so in right shot defense when there's not a lot of them. So Cody Ceci, you're not going to get a huge return, but you know what? I think there'll be lots of teams that would be interested in taking him on their team, and so it's one where Edmonton's going to have to weigh it. I think, guys, that like Edmonton, what we see them start at the season on their back end is probably not where we're going to see them finish. I think their forward group might be different. I think their forward group is probably going to be more locked in, but I think we could see maybe an addition to their blue line during the season.
So that's kind of where I wanted to go with next. How much of this offseason, I should call it the early stage of the offseason in the next 7 days here, draft, beginning of free agency, I tend to kind of think it might be quieter than we think. And maybe this is a situation where if you're the Oilers, you keep your assets like your first round pick next year and Borgo and some things like that and wait and see what you need at the deadline. Because I don't think there's any doubt this team's going to be good enough. Even if you lose a couple of cap casualties along the way, they'll be good enough to stay competitive till the deadline. Maybe the right approach is don't go crazy in free agency. Don't go crazy making some panic trade 2 days after free agency or even at the draft. And just keep your powder dry until next year's deadline and give this group a chance to run it back a bit in the regular season.
Well, they only have 14 mil in cap space, so I don't see them going crazy even if they wanted to, just because there's no, they're not going to be big name hunting by any stretch. But I think they're going to want to fill out, I think they see the need for having really good depth, right? They were able to bring guys in and out of the lineup where it's almost seamless. I think the one thing they would look for, guys, is if they could, I think they would like, and the problem is there's none out there either. There's really no right shot centerman on the free agent market. Like, unless it's Stenlund, who I thought was excellent for Florida, but I think that guy's probably going to be able to cash in big at free agency for what his age is, what his size is, how good he is on draws. But other than that, there's not a lot of right shot centers. So I think they will probably want to ensure that they have 12, if not 13 really good NHL forwards, because injuries are going to happen during the season. And they don't now that Dylan Holloway starts here, guys, I don't really see a young forward who's ready. Like Raphael Lavoie, maybe, right? But I'm still not 100% sold that Raphael Lavoie for sure can do it. But he's really the only one, right? So after that, it's like you would have some AHL veteran guys that they might sign, right? That you could bring up, like Lane Peterson's and guys like that. And that's a name. Don't overlook Lane Peterson making this team next year.
I like that. Liam, you got one more?
Obviously you had your piece out today on Oilersnation.com, and you spoke about Ken Holland. Can you just give everyone who's listening a bit of an update on where we're at with that? And also, do you have any idea who could be in the running to be the next general manager if Holland isn't around?
Well, Ken Holland, I can almost guarantee he's not going to be the GM of Edmonton next year. His contract's done. I just don't think he wants the full responsibility. It's a lot of work, right? He's had a Hall of Fame career. Now, would he like to stay in the game? I think he would. You know what? My last conversation I had, there was interest there for a consultant role, but hadn't really been able to come to an agreement on it. And my gut instinct led me to believe that he wasn't going to come back even in that role. So we'll have to see. Who will be the next GM, guys? I think it's going to be Jeff Jackson ultimately. And we might see like a restructuring as far as, he might be the president and the GM. We'll see. But I think he's going to be the quasi de facto GM, at least here for the next bit. Maybe they add someone later. I do think Jeff's going to want to bring in some of his own guys, which is normal, right? I think we will see a former NHL player come in like a skill development situation, a pretty skilled player. So, those are kind of the changes. Their assistant GMs, Bill Scott needs a contract. These are capologists. I don't see them changing him. I think he'll get a new one. Gretzky and Brad Holland each have a year left, so I don't see any changes coming there either. But you know how it is. Like, you're going to bring in your guys. We saw it on the amateur scouting side. We've seen some pro scouts, and I think we might see a few more changes from Jackson and the management side. But I think he's going to be your de facto GM, essentially, when the offseason begins.
Greg's, appreciate your time as always, man. You're coming up live in 28 minutes on 1440 and on the Oilers Nation YouTube. Have a good show, and I'll be on that show, so I'll chat with you in a bit.
All right, boys. Have a good one.
There you go. Jason Gregor from the Jason Gregor Show on Oilersnation.com. You can read all of his work there, and he does great work at that. Shout out to Star Mechanical once again as well.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.